I'm Oliver. This is English and Beyond Intermediate English Podcast. And today we're looking at something we don't often admit out loud. Summer rarely lives up to the hype. Before we begin, a quick suggestion. You might want to have a look at the free vocabulary flashcards before listening to the episode. It's not essential, but it could help you get a clearer idea of what we're about to discuss, especially if you're trying to push yourself as a learner or you are curious about the structures and language that we use. You can find those flashcards as well as a free transcript at morethan-a-language.com. And this will sound odd, but may make sense by the end of the episode. I want to hear from you something terrible and disappointing about your summer. Send it to me in an email at oliver@morethan-a-language.com or in a comment on Spotify or YouTube, but tell me the worst thing that happens to you this July and August. But before that, summer. You've booked your flights, you've packed your sunglasses, you've told yourself, this time I'm really going to get the most out of summer. And then suddenly it's already September. You're somehow more tired, you're somewhat poorer, and you are totally sunburned. So today we're asking, why do we put so much pressure on summer to be an upgrade to our everyday lives? And what actually happens when we try to describe our holidays in English without falling back on the small talk answer of, it was nice? Let's get started. Part 1, the myth of the life-changing summer. Around May, the illusion begins that this summer will finally slow down, think clearly, and maybe figure a few things out. Even if we're not leaving the country, we start believing that summer will gently fix us. We imagine big emotional payoffs, big emotional wins, a reset, a fresh start, a clean slate. We imagine ourselves sitting serenely watching the sunset, or finally finishing that book, or getting clarity on a big decision, or just feeling like better, more rested versions of ourselves. We see ourselves waking up without alarms, swimming before breakfast, and having deep conversations over long dinners with good friends. Summer becomes a mirror for our best self, if only we can get the conditions just right. But it's hard for reality to compete. We're still ourselves. The work inbox still exists. Children still throw tantrums. Mosquitoes still find us. And we don't stop being tired just because we're not in the office. The idea that rest and location alone will fix deeper exhaustion or confusion is seductive, but it's also unrealistic. The result? We set ourselves up for disappointment, and then we blame ourselves when the magic doesn't happen. Part 2, where this expectation comes from. And yet, every year, we fall for it again. It's not just personal optimism. This idea that summer will change something runs deep in memory, in culture, in marketing. Let's look at 3 of the main forces shaping this fantasy. A, childhood nostalgia. If you grew up with long school holidays, summer meant the ultimate freedom. No school, no uniforms, no alarms. It was ice cream and cartoons and being bored, but in the best way possible. It was also a period when you felt time stretch. Days felt endless. You could sit under a tree or lie on a bed for hours without guilt. The adult world of productivity hadn't reached you yet. So as adults, we keep trying to recreate that feeling, a moment when things felt open, slow, and possible. And even if your adult life doesn't include any of those things, the emotional memory still whispers. Summer is when you get to feel alive and free again. You chase that feeling without even noticing it. It's not really about the beach or the weather. It's about the sensation of potential, of having time that feels unscheduled and open. That feeling is rare for adults, so we try to force it into our 2 weeks off work every year. B. Marketing. Look at any travel ad or an Instagram post from someone on a beach holding a cocktail. Summer is presented to us as the correct time to be happy. The images are carefully lit. The food is always perfect. The people are tanned and smiling. The light is golden. The drinks are cold. The clothes are almost invariably white and loose. But it's a lie, built to sell something. Even the messier, more authentic summer content is curated to show a certain version of chaos, one that still ends in calm sunsets and gratitude. No one appetizes sunstroke, missing passports, or a fight at the airport. We don't just consume these images, we internalize them. So when our trip involves noise, confusion, or just boredom, we feel that something went wrong. Or worse, that something is wrong with us for not enjoying summer properly. C. The soft New Year effect. January demands action. Go to the gym, start new habits, finally learn English, get your life sorted. Summer is subtler, but surprisingly similar. It whispers, relax, reset, you'll come back better. But this expectation is just as heavy, especially if the trip is expensive or if you only get a week or two of holiday. You feel like you have to squeeze personal growth and relaxation out of a few days. And if you come back tired or bored or unchanged, it can feel a bit like failure, even if you wouldn't use that word. The pressure to rest perfectly is its own kind of stress, though clearly we're talking about a very first world problem, and is one we don't always recognize until we're back home and unpacking the suitcase and thinking, was that it? Was that it? These three forces together create a powerful fantasy, and they do it every single year. Even if we know better, even if we know rationally that these things are silly, even if we tell ourselves not to expect too much, the expectation of summer returns. Part 3. What actually happens? That brings us back to the messy, forgettable, but occasionally brilliant reality of the season. What really happens when the fantasy meets the sunburn? Sometimes it is transformational, but more often it looks like this: a few nice meals, bad sleep in a hot room, a suitcase that never quite gets unpacked the whole holiday, and 1 or 2 genuinely brilliant moments with people you love. A friend told me that they've spent half their holiday this year lost, mildly sunburnt, and queuing for overpriced gelato. Not quite the Zen-like relaxation that they had in mind. You might discover something important about yourself this summer, but you're just as likely to discover that the hotel reviews were exaggerated. Sometimes the most memorable moment is slightly ridiculous and entirely unplanned. For example, the water cuts out mid-shower and you have to rinse out your conditioner with Evian. You try to cross a street and accidentally become part of a marching band for 15 minutes, banging a borrowed drum with zero rhythm while tourists cheer. Or, perhaps most likely, your hiking trail accidentally ends at a nudist beach that you were certainly not prepared for. These are the details that stick, not because they were magical and transformative, but because they surprised you. And those moments, those unexpected, inconvenient, funny in hindsight moments, are often what you end up telling people about later. You might have expected a personal reset this summer. Instead, you got some horrendous mosquito bites and a good anecdote. Part 4. How to describe your summer in English. So now we come to the bit where we can try to maximize the payoff from your planned summer. If your goal is to improve your English, describing your holiday is one of the most useful things you can do. Why? Because it forces you to talk about the past in detail. It gives you a reason to practice narrative tenses, very specific vocabulary, and natural conversation patterns. Many learners default to vague answers like, "It was nice," or "we went to Italy." But these phrases don't help you progress with your learning. They're not a challenge. They don't give you new grammar structures or vocabulary, and they certainly don't make the conversation more interesting. Here's a better way. Think about your summer as a story. What happened first? What went wrong? What made you laugh? What surprised you? Did anything remind you of home? Did anything go better than expected? Was there a moment when you didn't understand something? Did you try to speak English? How did it go? You could try using sequencing words, first, then, after that, finally. They give us some structure to the story. You'll also use past tenses. We arrived. We had planned. I thought. This is great for practicing switching between the past simple and past perfect. Use contrast and cause and effect. The hotel was beautiful, but the air conditioning was broken. Or we missed the train, so we had to take a taxi across the whole city. And above all, practice adding one specific image, a detail, something visual, memorable, real. I am a natural pessimist. I'm naturally pretty negative, so I also recommend including a few disappointing details to add a believable touch to your story. For example, we kept missing the bakery by 5 minutes every day. I still don't know what the bread tasted like. Or I got terrible sunburn in the shape of my backpack. The shower in my hotel room was broken and my English disappeared instantly when I tried to complain. When you do this, you're not just telling a story, you're working on fluency, accuracy, and connection. Your listener sees the picture. You practice the grammar that helps them see it clearly. This kind of description is way better for your English. It makes the conversations more human, it gives your words personality, and it shows you're moving beyond memorized phrases, beyond a beginner level or a lower intermediate level into something more expressive and advanced. Some final thoughts. Summer obviously is not going to fix your life. Of course it won't. But if you come back with a few stories, a half-decent photo, and a clearer idea of what not to book next time, maybe that's good enough. And if you come back with some new phrases, a new grammatical structure, or a better way to talk about what went wrong, then that's even better. Even if the holiday itself didn't live up to the poster, you may as well get big gains with your English while complaining about it. So, as I said at the beginning, send me an email or a comment, complain to me about your summer, tell me something terrible, anything, as long as you practice your English. Thank you for listening. If you know someone who just got back from holiday and told you it was nice, send this episode their way and think about subscribing. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.